100 subs, guys. We made it. We made it. I want to thank you all. Thank you. It is such an honor and a privilege to be here. And, you know, it is the culmination of so much hard work and effort and an amazing team of people supporting me. And, you know, I owe it all to you. And, you know, I can't say enough about how much this means. And, what was that? Sorry. An advertiser? A commercial break. In the middle of my speech, in the middle of my acceptance speech, you want a commercial break? We don't even have advertisers. What are you talking about? Have modern, sterile guitar tones put your life on hold? Do you feel bored, uninspired, alone? Do you wonder if you'll ever be dirty enough? I know your pain. Ask your doctor about Boss HM-2, a prescription dirt pedal. Boss HM-2 is not a replacement for a personality. It is a supplement to help you seem more interesting at gigs and house parties. Boss HM-2 may cause nausea, seizure, headaches, indescribable bowel movements, feelings of anxiety and dread, communication with the void creatures of the nether realms, and irritability. It is not intended for children, adults, or the elderly. Ask your doctor today if Boss HM-2 is right for you.
It's all over now. This is my swamp.
We've all been there. Your tone is just too clean. It's boring. It's got no stank to it. But I'm here to help you. I'm gonna show you how to get nasty. Real nasty. But not as nasty as this swamp here. So let's blow this popsicle stand and head on over to the tone zone. So I already talked about the heavy pedal in another video, did a whole review and a demo of that. I really like it, but finding the right amps to pair it with is half the battle, I think. So I've spent a lot of time and tried a lot of amps trying to find the best combination. This will be, my fourth video about HM-2 style tones. I enjoy it a lot. it's a fun sounding tone, but sometimes it's hard to get it to sit in the mix. It's hard to find the right amp to pair it with. Some just really don't like it, and but I've got a really good combination here, and I'm really happy with it. And it happens to be a free amp. I was testing this out with the Archetype Gojira, which is a great sounding amp sim. It is not free. It's quite expensive. And it works well with the crunch amp on that, the Rust amp as it's called. But I was going through all my other free amp sims to see if anything could work as well or better. And I didn't think this one was going to work. This is the Cypress TT15. It's like an orange style amp. It's kind of fuzzy. It's kind of got a vintage sound. It's not a modern high gain amp by any means, but I found that it worked way better than any of the modern amps. And maybe because it has a fuzzy kind of distortion on its own, it just paired really great with the HM-2. And so, very happy with the tone I've got here. And it's pretty simple. I mean, this is a very simple amp. I have the cab sim off, and I'm using some free impulses from this collection called God's Cab. It's a Mesa Oversize, and it's got like a million different options on tube screamer, different mics, different presence levels on the power amps. It's a really great collection, and it's free. And there's like hundreds of impulses. So I went through a lot of impulses, tried to find the best ones, tweaked the settings in NAD IR with the, lowered the resonance, played around with the low pass, high pass, played around with the tone knob on the amp and getting the gain staging right. So this is the final setup that I came across after, I worked on it for maybe a couple hours, just trying different stuff, different amps, different cabs, everything. So this is the final setup, and I'm very happy with it. And most of it's free, except for the heavy pedal, which is a $20 plugin. It's pretty easy to, copy this tone if you want, and I think it sounds sick. I didn't use any post EQ on that demo. The only other plugin here is my Re-Gate, which is the stock Reaper gate. I've got it set pretty aggressive and fast. But yeah, that's it. Just these four, and I'll play you the guitar tracks on their own. You can see what you think about it. I think it's pretty nasty. Also, I will note, okay, for anyone looking at this knob here wondering what the heck is going on, yes, I have the distortion at 50% on this, which in this plugin, unlike the actual hardware, the distortion does ramp up and down a little more smoothly than the real pedal, which it's kind of on or off. So this is, I've got it backed off a little bit. I've got some gain coming from the amp. It's just to sort of balance between the nastiness. I wanted to get as nasty as possible, but also articulate enough for some of the fast stuff. And you can hear there's a couple pretty fast riffs in this song, and it retains clarity for those. When I was playing with higher gain settings, sometimes it was completely just too much. It started sounding like a bit crusher. It was like completely blown out. So that's why that is how it is. I know it might be controversial, but hey, whatever. Here are the isolated guitar tracks. So I wrote a bunch of different riffs in this in different styles to really push this setup to its limit. Does it sound good for long notes? Does it sound good fast? Is it articulate with fast palm muting bits and string skipping? So it does. It works, and I did that on purpose. I tested it a lot to make sure that it was going to work and sort of cover all the bases. And speaking of basses, let's talk about the bass. For the bass, I've got the heavy pedal again. Gain is backed off on that one. I'm running it through 2, splitting the signal between a clean amp and the dirty one. This here on the left is the HM-2 amp, and then the same amp, the gain is maxed out, but this is just clean, no pedal in front of it. And using these free shift line Bass IRs that I've talked about before, which are also good. Actually, on the HM-2 channel, I used guitar cabs because I found that just sounded a lot better. It brought out the character of the pedal. It didn't sound quite right through a bass cab. It just didn't have that HM-2 vibe. But otherwise, yeah, it's fairly simple. I do have some EQs on here. This is the clean amp, which is, boosting the clank, cutting out some of the mids, just, your basic kind of like Sans amp style or, typical modern metal bass EQ. And then the HM-2 track cuts out a lot of the highs and the lows, so it's not stepping on the guitars too much. Let's play just the bass tracks on their own. So that gives you an idea of the bass. I'm pretty happy with the bass tone. I didn't work on it super hard, but it's pretty nasty, and it's got a lot of gain with the clank coming through on the high end. That's very important for getting some articulation, especially because the guitars are extra, fuzzy and nasty with that HM2. So getting some of the string noise from the bass really helps glue the mix together. So I just dialed in the bass with the guitars to glue them together. It doesn't really make sense to try to take on mixing bass solo, I think, most of the time. You can get a start, but then really kind of dialing in the EQs and stuff, especially with the guitars, is going to make it sit a lot better in the mix, and then you're done. So that's the basic setup. It is not super in-depth, I know, but it was hours of experimentation. But my point of all this, I guess, is to say, play around. If you've got HM2, if you've got a clone, if you've got the heavy pedal plug-in, play around with it with different amps. You'd be surprised, and see what works well. Every amp is different. I tried it in front of a lot. But in my experience here, high gain amps are not the way to go. You want like a looser, like a crunch amp, a vintage amp, maybe something that's a little more raw and nasty than your super clean amp. Your typical metal amps don't actually pair all that well with the HM2. They tend to oversaturate and just super compressed, and just no fun there. So, pick an amp that's kind of raw and nasty to begin with, and I think it's going to pair better with the HM2. So that's all I have for today. Thanks so much for 100 subs. Like and subscribe. Share my videos. Whatever, do the thing. So, yeah, thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one. Cheers.